Hey class, we're going to move into part 2 of taking photos with your Chromebook. Hey class, so I got a lot of feedback on more in-depth instruction on how to take photos with the Chromebook, so let's dive into that now. Alright, so I got a little mini stage over here. What we're going to be doing is, I got feedback from a number of teachers that said they want to be able to see their students when they're displaying their artwork. Well, for me, I look at this as kind of like a questionable aspect, because I think if you could do another project, it's just gonna be better. So what I did is I cut out a mini, found a picture that I liked, and I'm using that as my reference point for the me holding up the artwork. Some teachers, if you guys want, make this a personal self-portrait collage where the students are creating an image of themselves to hold up the artwork so they're not in the image. I'm looking at that as a legal thing, so however your district and whatnot holds it up for you. So most of us, we have the basic Chromebook. So for the Chromebook, when you open it up, your camera is going to be located on the front of your screen. So it's located up here at the top. So most of the time when we're looking at this, we're having to look at our artwork from this perspective. So we're looking out at the artwork, and you're going to hold the artwork up in front of you. So up here we have me holding my artwork in front of me, in front of my computer. The distance in between here is about 2 feet-ish. We pulled out our old fancy pink ruler here. 1 foot, 2 feet, yeah, around about 2 feet in distance. That's the amount of space that you want to be away from the artwork, and it's just going to provide the camera here to focus on and give you the best quality possible. The camera, I've done as much research into it as possibly can. The best I can tell you is the stats on this thing are really low. If you have access to a real camera, use it. If you don't have that and you can use a cell phone, by all means use a cell phone. It's just going to provide a better image altogether instead of the Chromebook. But if this is all that you have, we can make it work. So inside of my camera app, once I have my camera set up here, we have a couple options on the side over here. We're going to pull up the grid, making sure that our grid is up so we can see everything in focus. But you notice how I can poke around to different aspects to get a little more focus on those different places inside the frame. That's very important for me. But notice how as I'm touching on the frame, how much movement I have, the play that I have with the screen itself. This is the thing that we're going to do when we're shooting all of our images. Over here, we're going to click on the little stopwatch, and the stopwatch is you can set it up under the settings section. You can have the timer at 3 seconds or 10 seconds. So we're going to leave that on. The reason we do this is when we hit the button over here to take the shot, it's giving the screen 3 seconds to get back to a stable position. So when I switch it around, or let's just switch it to the side like this so we can see, if I sit here and I find the right space of where I want to point, I poke it to focus, then come over here to turn on the camera. This screen has just stopped moving. If I tap it, did like the little chime effect there. But having it focus, move around, and let it center back before it takes that shot is going to make sure that it takes a stable shot, which is one of those big issues. You want to make sure that it is not moving, you have a full focus on your image, and everything just comes out as clean as possible. Once you've taken the picture, you can then click down here at the bottom, and it'll pull up the image that we just took. Notice how everything is relatively straight, no movement on the lines. You can see me on the side over here. I'm focused in as well. Some people that were talking about angles, I'm going to be tilting the angle of the camera here to get a pivot so I can get a nice straightforward shot. This is on a little bit of a slant over here, so let's change that by adding a little slant forward with our camera so we have a nice straight shot. When you're dealing with angles and you're trying to change those up, that's really going to be more for our 3D objects. If you're not shooting in 3D and you're just shooting 2D flat, 3D, couple angles, you definitely want to get multiple shots. So if I want to get more of a zoomed in shot, moving the piece closer, not the camera itself, is going to be how I would do that. Square up my shot, tap to hold, make sure it's in focus. Then again on the camera. So we have a nice clean image that's easy to see, easy to understand. We can see me holding the image there as well, just however you guys want to do it. But the one thing I'm noticing about this, there's a little bit of shadow effect. Come in with a little bit of a light, so a little bit of light to bounce with, and that's going to help lighten the image, because most of us, when we're taking images, you're going to have an overhead light like I have in here, And because of this overhead light, the shadows are going to be off in what I want to see. So let's minimize that by making our lives easier. So I'm simply setting my light in front of my object to give a nice solid cast of light, because the camera is getting the most amount of effort trying to get that light source as clean as possible. And so we can see in here that we have our two images. We have image 1 without the light, image 2 with the light. The light gives a little more balance to the colors on the bottom. The top half still's a little darkened. So it's really now becoming a play around with where do we need to put this light to get the accurate colors that we need. One, I'd probably push to change the tipping of the piece itself. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of play around with that. I've even in the past, and this is where having thing is handy, we will move thing in the background to be our helping hand behind it, have ourself, have our piece. Because I have a little bit of extra space in there, let's put a little small sketchbook in there, glue bottle for extra support. I don't know why, but glue bottles are like the best thing to use as a support object. And now we have much more highlighted element in our image. We got that nice bright light, so it's focusing on all the different texture components that we have in our piece. So let's say that you want to do a 2D piece, but you want that straight on perspective. Throwing a little light underneath it to bounce off those line textures that we have built in there from doing that collage element. Now we have it showcased without having to do a lot more effort into, do we take it from the side so we can see the curvature that the board has done because it started to bend from all the glue. You have all the line texture available now for you guys to see. So we'll open up the camera one more time. And again, it's still kind of a play around feature so that we can see all the different components. I definitely think further back is a lot better than bringing it close up. However, close up I can see a lot more color changes in the overall image, which for me, that was a grading point where I wanted to see those different levels of color so I could see the pattern change for my students, so I could understand how they were applying color and doing color theory in their pieces when we were doing these kind of semi-monochromatic portraits, which really helped because Beast is all blue for me. But all of these little things that you want to change vary by the piece that you're doing. But make sure the camera is about within that 18 inches to 2 foot range, so 1.5 feet to a solid foot. Make sure that you've included all the elements in your image that you possibly can, including a self-portrait of yourself if you can't put yourself into it. I had some teachers who were saying that they want to see their kids holding up the image. There's magazines of hands holding up the thing. If you want to expand this more to where you have a frame part of you that's holding up the image, you have this nice silhouetted structure. And again, for my class, we're using this as another project. So the kids are going to be building images of themselves holding up their own artwork so that they are getting self-representation inside the overall image as well. So lastly, let's talk about the structure on how we're setting up a stage in general. So for the stage, you want a nice open space for you to post all of your artwork in. And I've got my little set already set up here. But having a space to where you can put all of your pieces flush, flat, there's nothing that's going to hinder the objects from sitting flat on the tabletop itself. That's going to be very important. Have a spare light around so that you can make sure that your piece is as well lit as possible. Again, you're not going to be taking one shot, one and done. That's not going to happen. Minimum 5. 5 is always my minimum for basics when you're dealing with trying to get these images done so that you can make sure that your images comes out as properly, as good as possible. So again, remember, the Chromebook itself has a really bad camera. There's no real way to sugarcoat that. It's not great, but you know what? It'll work for what you got to do with it. The best way to do it is to get the most accurate images as possible. If you're near a window and you can get your artwork in front of a window and have that natural light cascading in, it's going to provide you a better quality overall. I'm in a dungeon, and down here the lights are going to be off, skewed altogether. I'm trying to use my ring light to kind of work as like a fake bay window, just to give me that nice kiss of light inside. But it really just depends on your situation. Play around with the light. You want to try and get those dead on shots. You want to make sure everything's in focus, so make sure you tap it, and to give yourself a little bit of insurance, put it on that timer so that that shot has, the screen has time to come back to perfectly still before it takes the final image. Hope you guys got something awesome out of today's tutorial. Again, if you guys had any question, comments, or concern, raise that hand down in the comments below. Happy to answer those questions. Other than that, take care of your homework, which is to like, subscribe, share all the various platforms, trying to get the information out there to as many students as possible. I'm gonna go back to working on some more stuff, maybe finish working on me holding up my own artwork. Other than that, I will see you guys as always next class. Later, guys.